Gold Invest. Explore opportunity.
Hi everyone, welcome to the latest Gold Invest interview. We are talking to Dan and Manuele today of Juggernaut Exploration, TSX Venture JUGR, which has made arguably one of the most exciting gold discoveries of 2025 in the Golden Triangle of BC. And of course, we want to hear the details. Welcome Dan, welcome Manuele.
Hi, thanks for having me, Bjorn.
You're very welcome. Dan, it's been a while since we talked on camera. I think it was even before you made your discovery on the Big One property. To start us off, why don't you give us a sort of overview of what you found there originally?
Okay, well, thanks. Great question. It's good to have Lele here too, our geologist who was instrumental in finding the Sherbet deposit, Goliath Resources. And it looks like he's done it again here with the Big One. But just a segue here, we went out in 2024 on a regional project generation syndicate looking for world-class gold deposits based on glacial recession and the abatement of permanent snowpack that we're seeing due to climate change in BC, Golden Triangle Elephant Territory. Out of that, we ground truthed over 400 targets. One of those 400 targets rose just head and shoulders above everything else. Really stuck out. In just 5 days, we found over 200 polymetallic veins at surface, up to 5 international soccer fields in length, with up to 1 kilometer of vertical relief to them. Some of these veins were 10 meters wide, which is a 5-story apartment building in height, to give it some context. I was hoping that those assays would come back 1 gram gold, 0.5% copper, kind of what you see traditional for intrusions in the Golden Triangle. I had my fingers crossed. The assays came back with multi-ounce gold, over 3,000 grams silver, very high percent copper and zinc. I was shocked. It caught me by surprise. It caught the team by surprise. We put that news out at the beginning of 2025, and within 30 days, over $20 million came stampeding at this company. And we took $12.5 million in our seed financing at 82.5 cents a share, with Crescat Capital coming in with its original lead order for 30% of the company. I don't know if I've even heard of that happening before, but it did. That financing was done when Donald Trump announced it was Liberation Day, and the markets went over a cliff. That's the same time I went live with the financing. And in that market, we received that much interest. So there's a saying in this business, follow the money. We then went out in the summer of 2025 and spent a little bit of that money, around $1 million, and we spent an additional 30 days on that property. In 30 days, we found over 300 more polymetallic veins at surface, running up to 8.24 ounces per ton gold equivalent, over 3,000 grams silver. We're seeing this over a 15-kilometer zone that we're calling the 15-kilometer highway of gold. It's going around the outskirts of the Eldorado-System. That looks like it's just the tip of an iceberg, of a golden mountain, jutting out of the ground. One of those veins, including the shear, is up to 50 meters wide. That's a 15-story apartment building, to put that into context. So we're excited.
Yeah, we should think so with the numbers of that and stacking up. And of course, following up on the already nice or great numbers with even bigger numbers afterwards is the way to go here. Now, that was a bit of an overview. Lele, let's talk a bit more in more detail. Now, the year's coming to an end. The field season is over. I guess you're sitting on tons of data. Please give us an idea of the work Juggernaut did at the project this year, and what were the results apart from what Dan already told us.
For sure. So we went out again in 2025. We had a smallish program, like it was about 30 days in the field. So that brings the total of days spent today to 35 days that we spent on the property. In these 30 days this year, we were out there prospecting, sampling. We did a lot of systematic channel cutting across some of these veins, because it's always nice to see or know that your mineralization is consistent throughout the mineralized zone and not just a spotty mineralization. So we were able to confirm that. We have multiple channel cuts with over 5 grams per ton gold over 5 to 10 meters. We obviously, with the sampling, we found a lot of new veins, as Dan was mentioning. These veins, there's multiple of these veins that are like 5 to 10 meters wide or more. They're exposed on surface for up to 1 kilometer. Some of them are over 1 kilometer on the northern side of the larger 22 square kilometer area. We also discovered what is called the gold swarm zone in the northwest. From the mapping that we've done so far, it seems that northwest gold swarm area is actually just a displaced part of the main Eldorado zone. So that's, again, interesting to see that there is like some kind of major structural corridor going through there. Obviously, in addition to the sampling and channel cutting, we also did a high resolution drone survey, which covers the entire Eldorado zone and gold swarm area. We did a property-wide LiDAR survey, and we also had 2 mappers out there. One was tasked with a regional geologic map to put everything into context, and the other mapper was there to map in detail the Eldorado zone and the gold swarm zone. And this is going to help us a lot in the coming weeks and months here to pretty much like to cut it short, to make a 3D model of these veins even before we start drilling it. Because obviously we are in mountainous terrain, so we get exposure of these veins on multiple sides of the mountain. So having these structural information, the geometry, knowing the sequences of rocks that we're seeing, knowing the lithology that we're working with, and all this kind of information is going to help us generate this model, which in turn is going to make it easier for us to design a drill program that allows us to target these key areas that we're planning to target in 2026.
So that was pretty comprehensive, even if it's only 30 days that you were at the property this year. So I understand that correctly. We have the Eldorado zone, which is like 22 square kilometers with all the bulk of the veins at surface. And then there's like a structural fault or something. And then there's the gold swarm. And the Eldorado has like the Whopper and the Big Mac and Gold Drome, I think. So there's lots of zones that you already are looking at. All these is drill ready. So do you need to do the geological model to start drilling, or could you say, okay, we go ahead now? You won't. You wait till 2026 and start drilling now, but from the information you have now.
Yeah, that's correct. So we do have the 2 zone, but I usually call the main zone the Eldorado zone. That's the 22 square kilometers. Again, that's about 40% of the island of Manhattan, just to give a bit of context. It's a huge area. There is a big ice field in the middle where obviously it's covered in ice and snow, so we are not able to see the rocks there, so we weren't able to sample, but we see all the veins around the mountain, as I said, on all sides of this mountain. As you mentioned, we have the Big Mac zone, the Whopper zone, the Gold Dome zone. So those are going to be 3 of our main targets. Now, to answer your questions, could we drill it now without the model? Yes, for sure. I mean, we see these veins on surface, exposed on and off, like in and out of the glacier for 600, 700, up to 1,000 meters. And they have pretty consistent width. I mean, they pinch and swell a bit, but we are still like 5, 10, some cases even more than 10 meters wide. And the grade where we were able to sample is pretty consistent. So we have a pretty good idea. When we were out this past summer, the guys also ground truth the location where we can build pads, where we know we have a safe spot to build a pad. And we also know that we can get water and we can get all the logistics done, like a helicopter can land, people can move around safely and all that kind of stuff. So we have a pretty good idea already what to do. Obviously, having the 3D model, like it's not going to be a perfect 3D model, obviously, but it helps us like when we drill, see how accurate it is. And as we move forward with the drilling, as we drill more and more, we can then adapt this model and get an even better understanding of the geometry of this structural behavior or structural situation.
Okay, so Let's say not only the zones are drill ready, Juggernaut is ready to drill too. I mean, as Dan mentioned, you've got still about 20 million in the bank, or correct me if I'm wrong there. You have these targets, you will have the model. So 2026, it's going to be pretty exciting, right? What is the thesis, so to speak, that you want to prove up with the drilling? What do you want to find?
Well, obviously, as a first drill program, as our inaugural drill program, we want to prove that these veins continue in the subsurface. We see them on surface with these potentially mineable widths and grades. They extend for several hundred meters. So I'm kind of repeating myself here. But so we obviously now want to go in the third dimension. So the idea is to step back a couple hundred meters from the surface and drill some holes and intersect these veins again now. Personally, I think it's a pretty safe drill program that we are designing. We are not trying to prove the entire system in year one. We just don't have the time, and it just wouldn't work out. So we just go from the known and kind of expand in the unknown in a reasonable way. So yeah, just step back and start proving that these veins exist. We also know that these veins are stacked. So you get one vein and then you get maybe 15, 20, 30 meters below that, you have another vein, then another vein, and another vein. So there's probably, or most likely, veins that we don't even know the existence of that will intercept with the drill bit. So that's obviously part of this inaugural drill program as well, to kind of understand what are we actually seeing on surface and what else is there in the subsurface that we don't know exists yet.
Well, certainly something to look forward there. Interesting stuff. Well, you're talking about stacked veins. Let's try and put that into context then. Perhaps you could compare Big One to Goliath Resources' Sherbet discovery, that you were heavily involved with too, and or let our audience know what other big comparable projects are in the region.
Yeah, well, when we found the Sherbet discovery, it was a vein in the sediments, not the volcanics. And most of the gold deposits are all found in the volcanics in the triangle. But we found a vein that was about 1 meter long and about 1/4 of a meter wide. We did a channel cut across that vein, and that channel cut ran 7 meters of 8 grams gold. We then went back the following season and did some more exploration work and traced that vein at surface for roughly 1 kilometer, poking in and out of the screen, following it up a mountain. That has now resulted in one of the largest, highest grade gold discoveries in Western Canada, and I think about 30 years, from scratch, from nothing, never known, never staked, just open terrain, right? Which is extraordinarily hard to do. Goliath Resources now has a $500 million market cap company, right? When we drilled into the ground on that one little skinny vein, that has now resulted in the discovery of 12 different gold lodes. So if one vein at surface turns into 12 underneath, when you turn your attention over to Juggernaut's Big One property from the same team, and you find over 500 veins at surface going for, over 500 meters with 1 kilometer of vertical relief, and seeing these extraordinary widths of up to 50 meters, including the shear, which is a 15-story apartment building. What's going to happen when we drill that?
We have our suspicions and our hopes, and we will see what's going to happen in 2026 then. Manuele being involved, he's probably having some good ideas too on what he's expecting there. Well, it's early days, but certainly looks very, very exciting to go and, well, not reproduce, but do like a Sherbet 2 or Goliath 2.0 at the Big One. Is that what we're talking about?
Yeah, I mean, I think we did gain a lot of information as a group, a lot of understanding, a lot of knowledge working the Goliath Sherbet project over the last 4 or 5 years here. We do see a lot of similarities Dan was mentioning. Obviously, it's structurally hosted. at least what we're seeing so far. So that like we kind of have all the steps in place that we know that we have to take with a project like this. Obviously, I think a big one for us is just the knowledge that we accumulated in working in this type of environment. It's not easy terrain to work with. The group that is doing the work, all our guys, the geologists, prospector, laborers, they're very familiar with the terrain and moving in that terrain and doing work in that terrain. So I think there is a lot of similarities between the two projects. I think even results that we expect are going to be very similar. I mean, you see all these veins on surface, they can't just end and disappear. So it's like there has to be something down below, and I'm pretty confident we'll have some really good intercepts coming out from the 2026 inaugural drill program on pretty much all the zones, to be honest, like whether it's the Whopper, Big Mac, Gold Dome, or over in the Northwest and the Gold Swarm.
Great. Certainly looking forward to this. So Dan, what you say then to round things off, this at this moment is a very good point in time for our audience to take a closer look at the company, put it on a watch list at least, because you have all this information still coming and you have the drill program coming up, right?
Yeah, that's correct. And from an investor's standpoint, Golden Triangle companies, Canadian exploration companies focused in, central BC, it is the perfect time to accumulate stock through the winter months. They'll often have a little bit of a dip in the winter, and then they have these big parabolic moves into the summer. Many people trade them like clockwork. So from an investor's standpoint, you want to be accumulating as much stock as you possibly can between now and the announcement of the drill program. You'll get your best ACB, adjusted cost base, over the next 4 to 5 months, right? And then we'll have all that euphoria going into the drill program. I believe that this will be one of the most highly anticipated drill programs in Canada, potentially the Americas, in the summer of 2026. We have only 31 million shares issued and outstanding. The company has over $11 million in the bank. We are fully funded until Q2 of 2027. Crescat Capital and Dr. Quinton Henney have invested in Juggernaut. Crescat owns just shy of 20% of the company. Quinton Henney wrote a personal check into the company, not just Crescat. Stiefel Partners at Beaver Creek had a meeting with us. They met with over 100 companies at Beaver Creek. They wrote up a very short list of companies to watch. We were on that list. 30 million shares out, 11 million in the bank, and you're finding gold stretched out at surface on the Golden Highway for up to 15 kilometers, which looks like it's just literally the tip of an iceberg of a mountain of gold. So get ready, everybody. I'm excited.
Well, I'm certainly looking forward to 2026 too. Thank you for taking the time and explaining in detail and getting on to Manuele. And let's hope the drilling comes rather sooner than later. Well, let's see how it goes. Thank you.